Many stories have been told about the infinite dangers of Thuk, the infamous Dungeon of Graves. What is less spoken of are the dangers which occupy the roads, forests, and coastline surrounding the dungeon. Often the act of reaching the dungeon itself and returning to town can be as dangerous as the delve itself. After all, what better victim is there for bandits and predators to prey upon than the wounded adventurers as they return from their latest expedition possessing riches, yet too battered and exhausted to put up a proper defense. Such was the case for the druid Helga, the cleric Wherein, the ever-changing Grok Trapspringer, and the warrior Durak Hain. Among the greatest of the self-proclaimed bandit lords was the Red Dragon King Aragnak. From his offshore lair, the local tyrant would launch strikes on returning adventurers, demanding they give up their hard-won loot or be incinerated from above, perhaps both depending on his mood that particular day. On repeated occasions the party encountered the Serpentine despot and paid the price. Vengeance was sworn, but they had few tools to combat such an airborne menace. Further into the bowels of the dungeon they would venture. Their journey led them to the discovery of a hidden temple dedicated to Orcus, teeming with cultists and devout acolytes. As the battle engaged, the High Priest, cloaked in his shadowy vestments, seized upon the power of his magic ring, using 2 of its 3 wishes to change the course of the conflict. Eventually, the High Priest met his demise, and his lifeless body careened perilously towards the molten depths below a narrow bridge. Helga, with arm outstretched, grasped his falling form. In the aftermath of the battle, Durak turned his attentions to the spoils of the victory. His eyes fell upon a gleaming ring. The Ring of 3 Wishes, with 1 wish yet remaining. Being a warrior of indomitable spirit and unwavering resolve, Durak recognized the value and power of this artifact, and without hesitation he slid the ring upon the finger, feeling the weight of dormant magic that still coursed through it. Emerging from the treacherous depths of Thuk, the party bore the marks of their harrowing ordeals. Wounds and weariness etched across their faces, they began the arduous journey back to the safety of town. But their respite would be short-lived as the sky darkened and King Aragnak returned once more. His voice, a rumble of thunder and fury, booming his ultimatum. He demanded they surrender their hard-earned treasures or face his searing wrath. Pushed to their limits and patience wore thin, Wherein made a rude gesture of defiance in the face of the towering beast's threats, and in that act of bold resistance, it was clear that one side would not walk away. With a roar of rage, King Aragnak recoiled at the party's rebellion. Wings stretched wide as he ascended into the skies, and fury surged within his chest, an inferno ready to be unleashed upon those who dared to challenge him. As the party scrambled for cover in the face of the assault, King Aragnak exhaled torrents of searing fire upon them. Flames danced and writhed, scorching the earth and greenery. The party's attempts to shield themselves were met only with vicious heat as each repeated breath from the dragon threatened to reduce them to ashes. In the midst of the inferno, the party's hope hung by a thread. The ferocious King Aragnak circled above, preparing for another devastating breath attack. His colossal form approached swiftly, diving at the party as fire gathered in his maw, ready to engulf his defiant foes. In this most dire of moments, Durak stepped forward, holding up his hand to show the Ring of Wishes he had earlier looted. With unwavering conviction, his voice called out a wish so audacious that it defied belief. He wished for King Aragnak to transmute into a frog. Where once the skies were ablaze with fury, they now held only a bewildered croak as the dragon's diminished form bounced harmlessly off Durak's armor. In a heartbeat, the mighty King Aragnak, Lord of the Coast, was polymorphed into a humble frog. The tide of the battle was turned, and the party was astonished by the miracle. An improbable turn of events born of desperation had saved them. It was debated what should befall the former dragon bandit. Arguments were had whether to end him there while he was still weak, or to leave him be as he was no longer in a position to threaten anyone. A compromise was formed. Finding a small padded compartment in Durak's backpack, the once terrifying King Aragnak was kept to bring on further adventures. Perhaps as a living trophy, in memory of one of their greatest triumphs, or perhaps for another mysterious purpose that never came about. Regardless of their motives, the coast road was made that much safer for other adventurers, and fools, to travel on their own way to the Dungeon of Graves.